The House of Representatives, which is the lower house of the federal parliament, where crucial laws are pending for discussions and endorsements, has been obstructed for over 2 weeks now. Main opposition CPN-UML has continued with its demands for the formation of a separate high-level committee to investigate the recent 1 quintal gold smuggling, while ruling parties argue that the state mechanism is already looking into the case. This stalemate at the legislative has sadly once again overshadowed pressing issues of public concern. Good evening, I'm Sarah Sapsanama. Let's begin with the top stories of the hour. Janata Samajwadi expresses reservations over the agreement between the government and the Gaur massacre victims, warns its support to the government has been compromised. Universities indifferent towards conducting research. UGC receives just 3 applications for grant, budget worth 20 million rupees frozen. Government gears up for internal loans to make up for its expenses after failing to raise adequate revenue. Aims to raise 240 billion rupees in internal loans this year. And 4 archers begin practice in Pokhara, aiming to improve their performance at the nearing Asian Games. The tournament to begin on 23rd of September next month. Janata Samajwadi Party of ruling alliance has expressed reservations against the 5-point agreement between the government and the Gaur massacre victims. At the meeting of the ruling alliance held in Prime Minister's official residence in Baluatar, Janata Samajwadi Chair Upendra Yadav had expressed the party's reservations against the agreement. Yadav was of the opinion that the government had fueled the attempts to revive a 17-year-old incident, warning that the development had invited a situation to reconsider the party's support to the government. At the meeting, Yadav also called on Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal and Nepali Congress President Sher Bahadur Dewa to publish their clear opinion on the Gaur massacre. Following the meeting, Yadav held a party meeting at the party's office in Lalitpur. He had poured frustration upon the Prime Minister's failure to consult with him and his party before striking the agreement with the Gaur massacre victims. 27 people had died when the cadres of the then CPN Maoist Center and Madhesi Rights Forum clashed in Gaur of Rohtak 17 years ago. The incident had also left 115 people injured. Based on a report by the National Human Rights Commission, violent clashes erupted after party programs of the two sides had coincided in the same venue. 2 probe commissions were formed by the government to investigate the Gaur massacre, and Maoist Center too had formed an internal committee. However, none of them published their report. The victims and their families had been demanding for justice, saying that the perpetrators behind the clash had not been booked. A 5-point agreement was struck between the government and the Gaur massacre victims struggle committee after the victims met with the Prime Minister and Home Minister yesterday. Based on the agreement, an investigation into the incident and complaints filed during the massacre would be carried out and the guilty would be booked. Janata Samajwadi Chair Yadav has also been alleged of involvement in the incident. The meeting of the House of Representatives called for today has been adjourned following obstruction by the main opposition CPN-UML. The meeting has been scheduled for Friday after CPN-UML started chanting slogans at the parliament as soon as the meeting began, demanding for a high-level committee to probe into the gold scandal. Meanwhile, Speaker Devraj Ghimire has urged the main opposition to refrain from obstructing the parliament, saying it had left the issues of public concern, including the recent floods and landslides in different parts of the country, unaddressed. Speaker Ghimire had been compelled to adjourn the meeting after lawmakers from the main opposition continued parliament obstructions despite several requests against it. Discussions held between the senior leaders of 3 main parties regarding the obstruction at the parliament earlier had failed to reach a consensus. The main opposition has continued obstructing the parliament even after the Home Minister Narayan Kaji Shrestha furnished his answers regarding 1 quintal gold smuggling. The main opposition CPN-UML has also obstructed the session of the National Assembly. Lawmakers from the party had stood from their seats as a form of protest as the session was to enter into regular schedule. As the session began, UML lawmaker Kumar Dasouri reiterated the opposition's demand for the formation of a high-level committee to probe into the 100-kilogram gold smuggling and alleged the involvement of Home Minister and Finance Minister in the scandal. Another UML lawmaker, Bimala Podil Rai, said the session should resume by addressing the opposition party's demands, saying that forming a high-level committee would not cause any loss for the government. Meanwhile, Maoist Centre lawmaker Jagprasad Sharma highlighted that the parliament had not been able to dwell on public's issues due to opposition's obstruction. Another member of the upper house, Bamdev Gautam, said the formation of the high-level probe committee would overshadow the investigation, adding that such a committee might drag the Prime Minister into the investigation. Gautam also said that such a committee could be formed if needed once the Central Investigation Bureau of Nepal Police concluded their part. As lawmakers from CP and NML stood from their seats as part of their protest, National Assembly Chair Ganesh Timal Sinha adjourned the meeting until Friday. Rashtra Swatantra Party lawmakers have addressed the House of Representatives Speaker from the doors of the Parliament building, saying they had been deprived of their right to speak at the Parliament session amid main opposition CP and NML's continued obstructions. All lawmakers from the party had gathered at the doors today to put their views to the Speaker. RSP Chair and lawmaker Ravi Lamichhane had spoken about Home Minister Narayan Kaji Shrestha's address to the Parliament yesterday regarding the recent gold smuggling scandal, while others talked of the country's economy and the problems of their electoral constituencies. The Cabinet has approved the amended master plan of Singha Darbar. The meeting of the Council of Ministers held earlier today approved the amended master plan of Singha Darbar presented by Finance and Infrastructure Committee. The Cabinet has given approval to Nepal Rashtra Bank to produce a batch of 150 million coins of 5 rupees. Furthermore, the meeting has approved Vice President Ramsai Yadav's China visit from 16th to 20th of this month. Vice President Yadav is scheduled to attend the 7th China South Asia Exposition and 27th China Import and Export Fair in China's Kunming. The meeting has also approved quotas for 715 temporary offices for the Prime Minister Employment Programme. The University Grant Commission has received just 3 applications for research grant it had called from universities, which experts say highlighted on the need for the formation of policies that would encourage more researches in old or new issues. Each of the 11 federal universities in operation at the moment have research units. However, only 3 universities care to apply for research grants this year. Of the 3, applications from Tribhuvan University and Kathmandu University were approved, while the one by Agriculture and Forest Science University was rejected. Tribhuvan University has received 75 billion rupees, while Kathmandu University has received 5 million. UGC's budget of 20 million rupees has been frozen due to lack of research applicants. A few university officials meanwhile say they were unaware of grant calls to have applied at all. The trend of publishing researches in case of Nepali universities has remained minimum compared to international universities. And in this scenario, experts say there is a need to introduce new policies that encourages research works. Currently, there are at least 4 research centers under Tribhuvan University, while a few non-governmental research organizations are also active in the country. However, their results have largely been questioned. The government has begun raising internal loans amid failure to manage its expenses as it has failed to meet its target revenue. Last year, the government that had started taking internal loan from the Nepalese month of Mangshir. However, the internal loan collection this year has already begun from the beginning of the ongoing fiscal. The government aims at collecting 240 billion rupees of internal loan within this fiscal year, with 55 billion to be collected within the first quarter. 4 billion has already been raised so far. The government revenue is currently higher than expenses by just around 33 billion rupees. The government has decided to take 10 billion rupees internal loan to pay the amount to contractors and to pay salaries and allowances to government teachers and employees. Government officials say that the decision has been made to take the loan now, considering the rising inflation. The government last year had collected development loan from the market by paying interest of up to 11%. This time, it has taken loan at an interest of 6%. 64 billion rupees went on interest alone and 115 billion rupees in loan installment. This time around, 93 billion on interest and 182 billion in installments have been estimated. 16 billion rupees in service charges have already been cleared. Meanwhile, experts reiterate the need to cut down on expenses. 330 billion of the 452 billion rupees in total loans will be spent on salaries and other payments. Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal has said that he has not gained sufficient support from the public to institutionalize his relentless efforts to promote the identity of indigenous communities. Addressing a program organized by Nepal Indigenous Nationalities Association on the occasion of 29th International Day of World's Indigenous Peoples, Premier Dahal recalled that his party had prioritized the community during the general election. Hinting towards the protest regarding the naming of Koshi province, Dahal said that the protest would not contribute in renaming the province. Various organizations in the country have observed the day under the leadership of the Nepal Indigenous Nationalities Association. The United Nations General Assembly in the year 1994 had decided to observe the International Day of World's Indigenous Peoples on 9th of August every year. In this context, in our Public Voice segment, today we've asked people in several provinces what should be done to protect indigenous communities. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
भाषा संस्कृति लिपि हैन हाम्रो पहिचानलाई चाहिँ राष्ट्रले देशले हैन चिन्न सकोस्
शिक्षामा रोजगारमा व्यवसायमा जम्मैमा अवसर दिनु पर्यो
राज्यले गरेका विभिन्न सन्धि महासन्धिमा जुन हस्ताक्षर गरेको छ त्यो अनुसार कार्यान्वयन हुनुपर्छ
परम्परागत सिपहरू त्योमा राज्यको ध्यान जानुपर्छ
आदिवासी जनजातिको भागमा छुट्टाएको बजेटहरू हाम्रो अलिकति भए पनि सुनिश्चित गरेर राखिदिएको भएर हामीले सहजै उपलब्ध गर्न पाएको भए एकदमै राम्रो हुने थियो
आदिवासी जनजातिका भाषा कला संस्कृति संरक्षण गर्नको लागि महत्त्वपूर्ण भूमिका भनेको बजेटका निकाय र विभिन्न तह र तबकामा चाहिँ स्थान दिनुपर्छ
फलनाले चाहिँ यसो लगेको रुडीबारी लगेको ठाउँमा केही न केही बसिबाटो दिनु पर्यो नि
आदिवासी जनजाति शिक्षित भयो भने मात्रै सबै कुराको विकास हुन्छ
आदिवासी जनजातिहरुमा पनि विभिन्न खालका हुनरहरू छन् उनीहरुलाई अवसर मात्रै दिनुपर्छ
उनीहरु आफै अगाडि बढेर उत्थान गर्न सक्दैन यसलाई चाहिँ राज्यले नै के गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ राज्यले नै पहल गर्नुपर्छ
सबै आदिवासीहरुलाई चाहिँ तपाईलाई हामीले जागरुक बनाउनु पर्ने अवस्था छ
एकले अर्काको भाषा धर्म संस्कृतिलाई सम्मान गर्दै एकले अर्कालाई अगाडि बढाउनु पर्यो
जागरण हुनु पर्यो हामी एकजुट हुन पर्यो
संस्कृति धर्म संस्कारको चाहिँ संरक्षण गर्यो भने
चलन चल्दी आफ्नो छोराछोरीले सिकाउने
सम्पूर्ण आदिवासी जनजातिहरु एकजुट हुनुपर्छ
आरक्षण कोटा जुन छ त्यो सुनिश्चित गर्नुपर्छ
आफ्नो भाषा वेशभूषा संस्कार संस्कृतिलाई जगेर्ना गर्नुपर्दछ
हेप छ चीज छ पेल छ त्यस्तो गतिविधि यो देशमा नहोस्
हामी सबैजना एकजुट भएर एकअर्कालाई भेदभाव गर्नु हुँदैन
And it's time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
But before today's question, let's take a look at the results from yesterday's poll. Yesterday, we asked you what's your take on the dissatisfaction over the bill related to Federal Education Act. 80% voted for option A, does not meet vested interests, 15% for B, bill is against the sentiment of federalism, and 5% for C, protest for the sake of protest. Here's today's question. What do you think of government officials leaving works to stage protests? Your options are A, compelled to do so, B, no sense of responsibility, and C, dominance of politics. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. 4 people have been arrested in Mahottari's Jaleshwar over the allegation of keeping hostage a 13-year-old minor for over a month and raping her. The minor girl from Jaleshwar 9 went missing on 21st of June. Her family reported her unknown whereabouts to the police. However, the police failed to act on it. The families filed a complaint once again a day later, which kicked off the investigation. Sister duo Bulo Khatun and Sabinaj Khatun of the same municipality were arrested. Last Saturday, the victim made a call to her relative from the perpetrator's mobile phone, which helped police further the search. A joint team of Dhanusha and Mahottari police on 5th of August rescued the victim from Janakpur's Ramananda Chowk based on the information shared by her family. The police also arrested 26-year-old Riyaz Dafali of Jaleshwar 1 and 25-year-old Bechani Mandal of Mithila 6. The victim is under police protection at the moment and medical tests are being carried out. So far, the victim has said she had been kidnapped, drugged and raped countless number of times. The women's cell in Mahottari's district police office has received 62 cases of violence against women in the past 1 month. Pakistan's parliament is set to be dissolved to prepare for a national election without former Prime Minister Imran Khan, who has been jailed and barred from politics for 5 years. Khan's successor, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, wrote to President Arif Alvi today, calling for the dissolution of the National Assembly, the lower house of the parliament. The dissolution marks the end of a chaotic tenure which began 5 years ago with Khan at the helm. Sharif, who assumed power in April 2022 after Khan lost a no-confidence vote in parliament on Tuesday, said he had asked President Alvi to dissolve the assembly 3 days before the schedule. The dissolution allows the interim government, which is still to be set up, to oversee the next general elections within 90 days, that is by November. According to Pakistan's constitution, elections should be held within 60 days if a legislative assembly is dissolved on the scheduled day, and within 90 days if it is done earlier than that. However, the likelihood of elections being held by November, many say, is slim.
Sports news.
Nepal is participating in the archery category at the Asian Games for the 4th time, as the 19th edition of the tournament is set to kick off in China's Hangzhou from 23rd of September next month. While Nepal had participated in the recurve bow previously, compound bow participation would be the first in this edition. However, Nepal has yet to bag a medal in the category. Currently, archers are practicing for the tournament in Pokhara with a focus on improving their points. 2 male and female archers will be participating at the archery tournament. Tilak Punmagar and Manju Bajgai will be competing in recurve, while Yogendra Serchan and Imayung Rai are competing in the compound category. Nepal will play in 2 events, including mixed and personal. Except for Tilak, this will be the first participation for the 3 other archers. The archers currently in Pokhara say monsoon rains have been a damper in their preparations, in addition to the lack of skilled coaches. They also add there had been a delay by National Sports Council in providing them with practicing gears. Coach Basanta Thakali meanwhile says the expensive cost of archery gears and lack of budget has affected the country's preparation for the Asian Games. Prior to this, archer Jit Bahadur Mokhtan had represented Nepal in the 31st Olympic in Brazil's Rio de Janeiro in 2016. Tilak Punmagar was to participate in the Olympic in Japan in 2020 but could not travel to attend the qualifiers due to COVID pandemic. The best result that Nepal has produced so far is reaching quarterfinal in the previous Asiads team event for recurve bow. That is all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Good night.